Strong Leela, from humble origins to starship captain, has been officially named Orphan of the Year, and so the Planet Express crew returned to the Cookieville Minimum Security Orphanarium to attend the award ceremony. She is happy to accept this award, and through her speech, inspires the young orphans that they can grow up and do great things just like her. But afterward, Fry finds her crying alone, staring at her bracelet. Despite her words at the ceremony, she confesses the only thing she's ever really wanted is to know her parents. As the only known Cyclops alien, she's always been completely alone. The only connection to her people, this bracelet she was wearing when the orphanarium found her as a baby. Meanwhile, it turns out that the professor's latest invention creates a disturbing quantity of toxic byproducts. Smelling cash, Bender starts a waste disposal service and takes on the professor as his first client. But rather than dispose of things properly, he proceeds to just carelessly dump everything in the sewer. When Fry and Leela tell him off, they are unfortunate enough to be caught in the crossfire when the sewer mutants reach up to the surface and drag the three of them down to face justice for Bender's crimes. As they run through the sewers, fleeing the mutant mob, Fry, Leela, and Bender enter one of the mutants' houses to find something rather disturbing. A collection of every item Leela has ever flushed down the toilet, as well as a collection of photographs and newspaper clippings that comprise a comprehensive timeline of her entire life. But before they can ponder the implications of this, our heroes are captured and sentenced to be lowered into the sewer's mutagenic lake, which will transform them into hideous mutants as well. But before the lever can be pulled, a pair of hooded mutants seem to recognize Leela and put a stop to it. Instead, it is ruled the trio will be banished from the sewer forever. Leela, however, doesn't leave. Those two mutants know her somehow, and she will unravel this mystery if it's the last thing she does. So as Fry and Bender return to the surface, Leela dives into the mutagenic lake and emerges somehow unchanged. She is confused, but this is a puzzle to solve later. For now, she has those two mutant strangers to find. Back on the surface, Fry pays the orphanarium another visit and is given the note that Leela's parents left when they abandoned her. No one on Earth can translate its alien language, but perhaps it holds some clue to Leela's past. He takes it back to the professor for analysis, and what they discover shocks them both. As for Leela herself, she tracks the suspicious mutants back to the same house they stumbled upon earlier. Pulling a gun, she demands that they tell her what is going on, and why they seem so obsessed with her, and why one of them wears the same bracelet she does. Before they can answer, Leela is struck by a horrifying possibility. When her parents arrived on Earth, these mutants must have murdered them. On the verge of tears, she screams her accusation and tightens her finger on the trigger. But before she can fire, Fry arrives to reveal the truth. The professor couldn't translate the note, but he did discover one thing. The paper came from the sewer. Fry lifts the two mutants' hoods, and as Leela looks at their faces, she realizes they didn't kill her parents. They are her parents. When she was born, they wanted better for her. Better than a life stuck down in the sewer, so they faked a note to make people believe she was an alien instead, and left her at the orphanarium. As they wonder aloud if she must hate them for abandoning her, Leela embraces them. The only thing she's ever really wanted was to know them. Welcome to Space Podcast 3000, where the future is in the past.
So this episode, huh?
This episode.
Well, before we get into the more somber elements here, let's start with a little joke. So the professor's machine makes something that looks, smells, and tastes like toxic waste, but what does it sound and feel like?
Well, he did stick his hand in it, so it probably feels like toxic waste. I don't know about sound.
Probably feels slippery, like something basic.
Well, just because he hasn't, we've only really covered 3 of the 5 senses. We can't know for sure that it's toxic waste.
I don't know, I think 3 out of 5 is enough to make it convincing.
That's more than 50%.
Yeah, but 3 out of 5 is still if you look at, grades, that's 60%. That's still a D.
Taste like dog poop.
What?
Oh, it's this joke I barely remember, where some guy sees dog poop and it's like, smell it, taste it, tastes like dog poop. Good thing I didn't step in it.
Oh.
I'm not going to take dog dew that's been on the dirty ground and put it on my face.
Yeah, why would you do that?
Take your suction cup stick better.
Well, apparently, the planet Dogdo 7 exists at the end of the universe, according to a previous episode of this.
Mm.
Anyway, the fact that the orphanarium has just a big pile of baskets by the front door is
That's a good
both
gag.
hilarious and really kind of disturbing.
Yeah, how often do people do that in the future? Is that, like, a common thing now? Or...
It was kind of a trope, like a cliche trope for a while, just kind of leaving a baby in a basket, which, I mean, there are surrender shelters and stuff like that. I believe, like, any fire station you can do that to.
That is fucked up.
But, I mean, this is kind of the sense that this really is one of the better arguments, I suppose, for adoption, because it is a family. It is, like, you look at Leela's parents, and they are self-loathing without any sense of irony, not like the other mutants. Because, like, the mutants are obviously self-hating, but they're jokey about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Leela's parents are just broken down by everything. They just, that they have just completely given up on any sense of being happy or respected or accepted anywhere in the world. So that, in their mind, that is the best thing that they could have possibly done for Leela, is give her up.
Yeah, I mean, she made Orphan of the Year. Although, speaking of which, why is that even a thing?
Is it only within the orphanarium, or is it all orphanariums?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
again, that is strange.
Although, we see on the wall the previous recipients are things like often seen in the background of news spots. Diligent Flosser has tasted every McDonald's sandwich, successfully switched from heroin to methadone, and now Space Captain, which bit of an outlier.
It's not expected that orphans will accomplish much, but I think they do make that joke as well, that they don't get a lot of respect as orphans, but they get way more respect than they would as mutants.
I guess. Although, can I just say, the mutants' plan makes no sense in this episode? The one where they're, like, trying to punish them, because, like, Fry and Leela are innocent bystanders, and Leela was even in the middle of telling Bender off when they got caught up in this.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile...
And Bender can't even be mutated anyway, so just beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, he even acknowledges this.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good episode. Like, it's a really important episode, but I honestly don't think it's that well written.
No?
Like, the actual plot of the episode, this premise deserved a better episode to be revealed in, I think. Because it's an important episode. It's a good one for character development, but it's not particularly funny, and I don't think it's that well written either.
Yeah, I mean, the setup is just okay. It's the latter half is better.
Yeah, as you said, it's not a particularly funny episode. It doesn't really raise anything much deeper to talk about. But if you ask me, it really is exactly what it needed to be. It's an exploration of the characters that answers questions you've had since the start, ties it all up in a rather heartwarming, narratively satisfying manner. The montage at the end really elevates it, I think.
Yeah, the montage at the end reveal is very good, but there could have been a better rest of the episode to hang it on, because really it is sort of relegated to a B-plot in its own episode, when it really should have been the main focus of the episode.
Yeah.
But it really kind of gets sidetracked compared to the, like, they're trying to escape the other mutants and everything, and it really needed at least a better main plot to kind of hang on to.
Maybe more time spent investigating it rather than just having it be a couple of quick scenes. But
and even down to the fact that they end up breaking into that one building that just happens to be the one where they have all the wall with Leela's information on it.
Well, I mean, I guess they had to stumble on this somehow, but it is a bit of a contrived coincidence. Still, I was genuinely crying by the end of this episode. I actually started tearing up for real. Really, any episode that ends with a musical montage like this is probably going to make you cry.
Yeah, this show is very good at doing that sort of thing. And, like, all the characters kind of get their own in the throughout the series.
Yeah, Fry's had his heartwarming episodes. Bender has
Bender has a couple, actually.
Yeah, Leela's got this. Amy has pretty much any time that she's on screen with Kif. It's interesting to note that. But wait, actually, I just realized something.
What?
So, it's said in this episode that the sewer water is so powerfully mutagenic that just falling into it will, mutate you instantly. Except, didn't Fry fall into the sewer lake the last time they were down here? Like, there was that joke where he's sputtering and he's like, ugh, and the aftertaste.
Didn't they think they mentioned it's because they all the stuff that Bender added to it?
Yeah, I think it's only mutagenic now.
Maybe, but then it raises the question of why they mutated to begin with. Maybe it's just more powerfully mutagenic now.
I don't think they mutated there. They just kind of live there because they're mutants. Like they didn't mutate because they went down there. They were already mutated, so they had to live with the other mutants. It's kind of a chicken and egg thing.
What's funny about...
And then, of course, because they live under the city, everything's already mutagenic down there, so it doesn't really help things.
The egg came first.
In every conceivable way, the egg came first.
Creatures were laying eggs for millions of years before chickens evolved. The egg came first.
Yes.
But was it a chicken egg or a proto-chicken egg?
You're looking at logic in an idiom.
I couldn't not. But
the egg came first, laid by something that wasn't the chicken. That's the answer.
Anyway, there is a background gag in the sewer that I really like, where the businesses on the street are Big and Strange Men's Store, Bed Bath and Beneath, Bob's Big Mutant Boy, Starbucks.
They're just Starbucks. Starbucks isn't that bad, is it?
No, they're just ubiquitous.
Yeah, I think the joke is just that there is a Starbucks everywhere.
Yeah, these days.
I mean, even back when this was made, there was a Starbucks just everywhere. So actually, one other thing that this question raises, the question raised by this episode is, so when Leela dives into the lake from that height, from like that ladder at the top of the cavern, that should have killed her.
I guess it depends on the surface tension of the mutagen.
I guess, but like, contrary to popular belief, hitting water at such a high velocity is not a soft landing. Like, it is not. At the very least, she should have some broken bones.
Contrary to what video games show.
Yeah. Video games and movies and, whatever.
Yeah, you don't dive into water, you have to dive into a hay bale. But only if there's eagles nearby.
Oh, teasy. So there was that line from the professor where he says there's no way to predict how long it will take his computer to analyze the note. It could take an hour or 100 million years. So I feel like that isn't actually a comment on the difficulty of this particular task if you take the halting problem into account. And it might even be a deliberate joke on that.
The halting problem?
So the halting problem, as proven by Alan Turing, states that it is impossible to create an algorithm that will successfully predict in all cases whether or not a computer will be able to run any given program to completion or how long it will take to do so.
Because then you could just run the program into itself.
Yeah, like, it is a bit more complicated than that, and in fact, I don't entirely understand it myself, but that's the simple version, that it is just mathematically impossible to predict whether or not something can successfully run or how long it will take. And so I wonder if maybe the professor's line there was a joke on that, or it might have just been a coincidence.
I wouldn't put it past it, because that seems like the kind of joke the writers would make.
Probably. It's such an obscure thing in computing. I mean, like I said, even I don't completely understand it. So I also feel the need to point out that Morris and Munda, or Leela's parents, did actually appear in a crowd shot during our last visit to the sewer way back in season 2, which I believe I mentioned at the time.
Yeah, I think so.
From what I've read, Leela's backstory was already decided before they even pitched the show to Fox, so this particular storyline was actually planned right from the beginning.
Surprised it took us this long.
Yeah, although the writers spent a long time debating on how this episode should actually be structured according to the commentary. Like, the main thing was they couldn't agree on whether the viewer should learn the truth early on, or if it should be kept as a surprise that the viewer only learns it when Leela does. Personally, I'm glad they went the former route, because the climax of the episode is really heightened by the dramatic irony.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I don't know what else to really say here, though. This episode, I like it fine because it makes you feel things. It could have been better, but it's not terrible. There isn't a whole lot to talk about beyond its importance in the ongoing narrative of learning Leela's a mutant and having her parents as characters now.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
straightforward, which isn't a bad thing. It's kind of the thing this sort of plot point needed.
Although what I want to know is, if you were going to rewrite this episode and try to structure it better, how would you do it?
I would introduce the characters kind of earlier. That maybe they need to go down there. They don't get forced down there. They are asked to go down there for some reason, or they need to go down there to complete some sort of mission. Not less so that they end up there by accident. So they would have more of a reason to go down there, and they'd have a reason to go down and learn more about the mutants, how the mutants are living.
Yeah, that would make sense, and that would get them into this faster and give more of an excuse to investigate, and then maybe they uncover the mystery earlier, and more of the focus is on unraveling that.
Yeah. I agree. There should have, well, not necessarily should, but there could have been a different motivation for bringing them into the sewers.
Yeah, because now, as it was, it's really just kind of, again, it's just a contrivance that they just happen to be down there, and they happen to learn at the same time that Leela is kind of thinking about her family and everything. So it kind of plays out coincidentally, just like how they kind of coincidentally come across the building that has the information in there. There are quite a few contrivances in an episode that really kind of feels like it should have had more going for it. But I mean, obviously, the parents never wanted Leela to find out about them, so it makes sense that they would be kind of hiding this thing, so they would only discover it through a contrivance, I guess.
Yeah, although, to be fair, I think part of this is the fact they only had 22 minutes, as opposed to, a show that has longer episodes where there would have been time to build things up more and make more of a satisfying, mystery to gradually unravel. But then, if you reveal things...
At the same time, I think that you can still do more with the 22 minutes. Because the fact that they have been supporting her for her whole life. They've been doing these little things. I don't think it's unreasonable to see maybe they slip up and she discovers that they've been doing something, or she sees them leave something for her that they thought she didn't notice, and so she goes to investigate that sort of thing.
Okay, yeah, that's actually a lot better. Because that even with the 22 minutes, they do spend about half this episode on just the mutants being angry at them and that whole dumping thing, which
I mean, there's a joke at the beginning that I really kind of brings true, the fact that you have to either pay a fine or clean up your mistake, and or you can bribe me, and both of them cost the same amount. So if they both cost the same amount, just do it properly.
Yeah, but the time and the paperwork.
Yeah, just doing a bribe is a lot more convenient. I don't know what else to say here, though.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those episodes that I feel like it could be rewritten to be... Because as such, it does already have such a strong ending, but it could have been a lot better if it was just a slightly better written.
Yeah.
Slightly better paced.
I feel like the ending is the thing that most people are going to remember from this episode, though, because the rest is just kind of there.
Yeah, like I said, it's a good episode, but it's an important episode, but I don't think it's an especially funny one or especially entertaining one, at least in the traditional sense that you expect from Futurama. It's still a very important episode to watch. This is definitely one that you want to see, especially if you're a fan of Leela.
It's definitely stronger as a piece of the ongoing narrative than it is as
a standalone.
Yeah, exactly.
Which isn't always a bad thing. It's definitely good if you're watching a lot of episodes after the other, which is more of a modern day thing than it would have been back then.
Well, yeah, it's one of those episodes that shows Futurama can tell a more serious, downbeat story when they want to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know what else to say about it besides, yeah, it's okay.
It's okay, but we're happy Leela's finally reunited with their parents.
Yes, she found her parents, and now we get to have them in later episodes as well. We could talk about the design of the parents a bit, because they have some interesting designs. The dad has, like, a sideways mouth.
Yeah,
crooked jaw.
How is that physically possible?
I don't know.
Which is weird, because, like, whenever it's closed, it's just like a regular mouth, but then when he talks, you have his teeth going sideways. That's the kind of thing you could really only do in animation.
Yeah. They do have kind of weird designs. Really, a lot of the mutants are very creative.
The guy was just a leg.
Yes. The dude with the third arm coming out of his head. The ear, nose, and throat doctor with, like, 6 eyes, hoof arms, and
4 hoof arms.
Yeah.
Or even when the one with the 3 arms is swimming, he's using the arm to swim, which is that's interesting that they would do that kind of an animation thing, because clearly they had some kind of fun figuring out how they would do that.
It is visually very creative, and it's a neat concept having the sewer mutants, but, like, God, how horrifying is that world building that they literally are not allowed on the surface, don't have any civil rights, and just the fact that giving up and making Leela not know anything about her past and lying about her origins is the way they give her the best possible life. That's depressing foreshadowing.
It's depressing, but unfortunately it's also true in a lot of situations. It is a very common trope in fiction, especially with orphan stories.
I suppose it just, you think by the year 3000 and however many by this point, things would be better.
That's kind of the joke, is that they have literal aliens and robots, but humans that just happen to be mutated are the lowest form of life.
It doesn't even make sense.
Which, I mean, I guess that's commentary, is like people will always want to look down on somebody. So as long as you have somebody to look down on, the rest of the people can be together fine.
So that actually, like, I can't believe we were saying earlier that this episode doesn't really touch on any deeper themes, but, like, you just made me realize, like, that is touching on some actual truth where bigotry is actually stoked by the upper classes to prevent class solidarity across racial lines, where, you end up with these poor white people who are like, I may be penniless, I may, have to work hard and suffer a lot of my life, but at least I'm not a lousy N-word. And this is deliberately stoked to prevent class solidarity because, if they actually stopped to realize, oh wait, I have more in common with the black man and the Asian man and, the whatever, than I do with the rich people, then suddenly that's class solidarity. That's grounds for social change.
Why does the lower class, the largest of the 3 classes, not simply eat the upper class?
Exactly.
Exactly the point. So I have to wonder if maybe some point in the backstory, anti-mutant sentiment was deliberately stoked to make them into a scapegoat. And this is what resulted in them being forced underground.
Yeah, which, I mean, it certainly raises an interesting idea, but again, it's all kind of subtext that they don't really dwell on. Because even Leela kind of hates mutants. That's how ingrained it is into they are literally an upper echelon of people.
They're the upper crust in this situation. Pardon the pun.
No, I'm sure that was kind of a deliberate pun on their part, at least an unspoken pun.
Maybe. Anyway, Leela
sleeps with her arm under her pillow. I do that too.
Same.
I always wake up with my arm asleep.
No, see, I don't have that problem. It's a matter of finding the right position for it, but I can't sleep if I don't have an arm under my pillow. I don't know why, but it's been that way since I was a little kid. I didn't even notice that she does that, though. It's interesting.
It might be just a one-off thing, who knows? Because she didn't do it last episode. She was sleeping on her back.
No, that's weird, because like that's one of those things that you never see animated. You never see that in fiction, because you always just have them in bed like that, because obviously they're either actors or it's animated to it's something that people don't really think about. But yeah, there's a lot of people that sleep that way.
Yeah. I mean, as for why she might do it in this episode and not in previous ones, different animators, different storyboarders, you know.
Yeah.
It's not really an important detail that needs to be kept consistent.
No, but that's interesting. I didn't even notice.
Do we have a joke to end on? I don't know.
This isn't really a joke to end on kind of episode.
No.
True.
No, I'm just going to call my parents, I think.
Thank you for listening to Space Podcast 3000. Your three voices of the future are Nova Altman, Doug Hancox, and Eden Valerie. The theme music is Voxel Revolution by Kevin MacLeod. You can support the show and listen to new episodes a full week early at patreon.com/spacepod3k. Follow us on Twitter at spacepod3k. Be sure to join us next time as the Planet Express crew experience both love and jealousy in Love and Rocket.